Hello and welcome back to the DP World Tour Picks and Bets. Skylar, Hoak here, joined by Tom Jacobs. Tom, we've been on what you like to call a holiday here, an extended time away from the show. Little breather as the family was expanding here. On my end, added a second son into the world, so I've been home and traveling a bit with the family. I know Tom has been kind of a world traveler and also staying up till 4 a.m. watching the footy in England advance last night. So congrats on the win, Tom, and it is good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Congrats on the new edition, and I'm glad to hear that's all going well as we caught up before the show. Golf's been crazy since you've been away, right? Like we had Michael Hollick winning last week, and I don't know literally how anyone can kind of predict that. Eugenio Chikara wins a couple of events in a row. Good for him, by the way. Like, I'm really, really pleased to see him kind of make his way back after making a mistake of joining Liv. And then we've just had some, bizarre winners, right? Like Richard Sterney won, Euro Primlaw won, I think, while you were away. And then obviously we had Crazy Kaneko kind of fulfill some potential as well. So we've had some really exciting stories on the DP World Tour. We had some DP World Tour regulars play well on the PGA Tour as well. So I can't remember when in the time of us being off, but like right hand winning at the Truist, obviously a big moment for the DP World Tour. So yeah, I don't exactly know yet what the promotion relegation means for these DP World Tour guys that are getting cards. I think that's going to be rejigged. I guess everyone's still getting them this year, and then maybe next year it changes. But all that to kind of learn as we go along here for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, a ton has happened. A lot of interesting storylines. 100% from the standpoint of one of my big question marks is the opportunity that these DP World Tour guys will get moving forward. I think these 10 this year should be no problem. And then from there, I don't know if it'll be Challenger versus the top or what is going on, or expansion, even more of a co-sanction stuff. I think a lot's on the table. And we also get one of the, since Liv started, one of the weirdest fields that we've ever had with what we got at the Scottish Open this week. We're going to cover the Scottish from the standpoint of Tom's a little bit more on top of the ball right now in regards to total picks if he wants to go in any. I kind of left it on some DP World Tour long shots or DFS kind of guys that I'm going to try to target this week if they don't end up on my card. And then some of the same things in the Isco. If there's guys that are, accustomed to the DP World Tour that we really like, that's kind of who I dug into a little bit from that standpoint. So, the big talking point, I think, this year in the Scottish Open with Renaissance Club is last year was such a specific playbook on how you got the course done. It was hit the ball at absolute mile and then, take advantage with birdie looks. That was how Goddard was up there. That was Penge and Wrighton last year, who were basically two of the definite better players in the DP World Tour who elevated in that event. So I think, that's kind of the at least the profile, at least I'm going to try for in the longer shot guys that I think makes sense here. It's not links golf. It is not what we're, really shooting for an Open Championship type of style of test. However, it's produced some fun leaderboards and some really cool Sundays. So I'm into this event, especially with the live mix of guys. So Tom, I'll kind of throw it to you from a high level. And if there's anybody shorter that you'd want to talk about, PGA Tour, European Tour, live aside, like rip it.
Yeah, look, I'll just give a kind of quick overview of who I'm taking. So I thought Wyndham Clark was too big. Like, I don't really get the odds on Wyndham Clark. You just talked there about the kind of blueprint of winning here last year, drive it far, make a ton of birdies. That's Wyndham Clark in a nutshell, right? And I just think that we say this all the time, but I think like he's been priced as if he's never going to win again, which I just don't get. There was 8 people ahead of him in the market this morning, and this is a player that's gone 1st, 3rd, 11th, 1st, and 5th, and one of those wins is obviously a second US Open. Besides that, he's obviously got 4 top 25 finishes. He was playing really well here before he even became the Wyndham Club that he is today. And then going into the final round here last year, he was in 3rd place, and I think he's only a couple of shots back of the lead. Didn't play well on Sunday, but so I just felt like he was just too big. He had that final round 62 2 years ago, had 2 66s last year. So I think Clark's too big. You mentioned right hand. I just think the odds are good on him. He's kind of 50-1 plus over here in the UK. I think you probably get a slightly bigger number in the US. Yeah, 63-1 on DraftKings for Christopher Wrighton, 60-1 on FanDuel, general price. Like, to me, all he's done is elevated himself from this time last year, right? Like, he's now won the Truist. I think he's quietly having a pretty good major season that's going unnoticed because of the final finishes. Like, he was 7th at halfway at Augusta. I think he was right up there, maybe like inside the top 10 going into the final round of the PGA Championship. Did miss the cut at the US Open, but again inside the top 20 after round 1, and then played well again. So to me, I just think he's overpriced. I think he's a player that fits the mold perfectly, to your point. And then Tom Kim was the other PGA Tour regular who's just, I know that goes against the profile of what we just talked about there, but when Tom Kim was Tom Kim, he finished 3rd and 6th here on his first 2 starts. He was, within one of the lead after the 2nd and 3rd round 3 years ago. And then even last year, when he was in the absolute trenches, he hadn't had a top 30 since the Pebble Beach. He was 9th after round 1, 7th after round 3. So they're my kind of core 3 from the I guess top and mid range. And then I've got a couple of long shots to speak about from the DP World Tour. Well, I guess one of them PGA Tour, but DP World Tour regulars for us that we can go into.
Yeah, I love that starting point. I think Wyndham's probably realistically on my card at this point, just from the profile history and odds standpoint. And Tom Kim, actually, I think we probably did a show for it. We were on him. I remember betting him at like 400s in that event that Xander won here when Tom almost stole it late. He was in the mix, needed to score on the difficult back 9 late, but it was actually the Scottish and even Open Championship for him, in which gave me the confidence that if Shinnecock was going to play like links style-esque or overseas-esque in elements, why I bet him at the PGA Championship or the U.S. Open when he contended 2 recently. So definitely in with Tom. So I think I'm kind of looking at it in buckets of the DP World Tour guys. And I think you can include graduates like you did with Christopher Wrighton, who I think definitely gets a benefit from the style, of course. But I guess the bucket to me, I guess if we stick with the Wrighton button, what do you think of Marco Pench?
Yeah, I think hugely impressive return to action last week after an injury, right? We always kind of like it. I don't think like it's the right word, but we always, I think, sympathise quite a lot with players that have just had a bad run of form or an extended break due to injuries. For him to climb the leaderboard last week at the BMW, especially when it got tougher, was really eye-catching. Perfect profile for it. Hasn't been as impressive as Wrighton, right? Hasn't made the jump yet to the PGA Tour, really. But I think that's injuries and illness and young family, right? Like, it's just a way bigger adjustment than it's been for Wrighton. So I'm happy to forgive all those things and look at Benj as you're going back to the Scottish Open, you might feel more comfortable. I think there's a definitive bucket of players that are, we did it with Matt Wallace a couple of weeks ago. I know we didn't do a show, but I put Matt Wallace up, Matty Schmid last week. There was a definitive list of players that are playing okay on the PGA Tour that are going to hugely benefit to coming back and not dropping down a break. So see the big guns are here, but maybe just being a bit more familiar with the DP World Tour surroundings, courses. And then you've got these guys that are just playing, they're just bulletproof. Wrighton's just playing really well. I think Benj from last week suggests that could be the case for him as well. He's pretty fair. And then we've got, I think, a couple of players that have all of a sudden made a big sort of move in form-wise. Maybe timed it at the right time to come drop down. So, yeah, that's how I would see it.
Yeah, I mean, when it's illness-related, like he's had this viral illness since we bet him at the DP World Tour Championship, like it's hard to get a grip. But, yeah, of profiles, he fit the bill. And if I'm looking at, like, that level of player on the DP World Tour now, and that's kind of my bucket of, like, 1A guys that are on the DP World Tour who are priced near the top of the odds board on a weekly edition, who fit the course really well. I'm debating between Angel Leora and Daniel Hillier, right? And Hillier. Like, it's Aora fits that mold of like, we are so frustrated that he's not playing well when he's 14-1, that the expectations are, if you're not winning golf tournaments or leading them or doing more than what you're doing, like, you shouldn't be viewed as this type of player.
Yeah.
But then you put him in this type of field, it's like, man, like, this is when it should, like, just be perfect. Like, it like, you fit the mold, like, you fit the course profile, you don't have the expectations, and I would say the odds market just isn't as corollary to being 18-1 in the European tournaments. And maybe that's just, still, he's got a little bit of respect, but I don't know. I'm intrigued enough by there, and at least from a recent standpoint, he's been a little bit better than Hillier. Or Hillier has been, and I don't know. I think both of them could fit it really well. We've seen Hillier play well here too, at least like in round stretches when he's been popular, coming in with some good form. So I was kind of splitting hairs between those two to kick it off.
Yeah, I think, you talked there about your being disappointing and underwhelming. He is. I don't think there's really any way of getting around that. But the upside is that he's going to be a DP World Tour winner soon. He is probably going to, well, he's certainly capable of doing what Raitan and Penge are doing, graduating. And I'm always harsh on Aora, but that's because we're talking about the favourite every week, right? This is a completely different thing. I think we talk about this a lot, about the opportunity, right, of taking these players. I think we mention it every time we talk about him. I was like, I'll just wait for him to be in a bigger event. Like, even, it doesn't have to be the Scottish Open, it should be like Wentworth or, one of the Middle Eastern events where he could be 40, 50 to 1. It doesn't need to be this big extreme. But I do think it's an opportunity for him. And then Hillier, like, just missed those last couple of cuts, doesn't he? But otherwise was on a really good trajectory. As you said, he's got the benefit of, playing here a couple of times. He's one that would probably prefer it to be a proper links test, right? Like, he would love that Open Championship feel. But I think you get an element of it, right? Like, everyone sort of says it's not a links course, and it is point and shoot. But there is certain parts of the course that do require that as well.
Yeah, and he is in the Open Championship field next week, so he could be intriguing if he shows some signs in regards to that. So yeah, I think, just splitting of like the top here, and then, I mean, I do so much work for ETR of like these long shot guys that I get a little spooked when the long shot guys feel very obvious. That's my fear with Jesper Svensson this week, from like, if you're looking at statistical run-in and then their profile and then having history, like, and then he's still 250-1. Like, I need to compartmentalize my brain, and it's good to be back doing this show because, you have the ability to then basically not worry about it at 251. Like, no one's going to second guess that at all. I don't care if 10 of my neighbors are on that bet too. It's fine at the odds, I don't have any bones to pick with Jesper Svensson this week. Do you?
No, I was a little bit like you. I was like, am I kidding myself here? Like, are we trying to think of the Jesper Svensson that we all thought was going to go on and be quite successful on the PGA Tour and hasn't been able to do it? Is that the player we're thinking of? Well, no, the player we're thinking of is a person that's got 2 top 10s in a row. It's coming back to a course that is tailor-made to his game based on what we just said about the other guys, and also who has had some, pretty like pop rounds here, right? Like, I think that's the really important thing as well, is that he's one of those that we really like, that you go, okay, well, on the face of it, 34th and 43rd is not that great, but final round 65 2 years ago, second round 64 last year. So actually the finish that he had last year of, making the cut after such a disastrous start is all down to just letting go and firing at the pin basically on Friday. I think Svensson is my favourite bet of the week. I think obviously, with Clark, Tom Kim and Raitan, there's obviously greater chances. But in terms of like who I want to just go and root for and obviously makes my bank account better is Svensson. The off the tee game has been fantastic. It has been for most part of the season, but just a bit more consistent this time around. Gained an approach in the Canadian Open. In short game's been really tidy. So that approach game coming back after an extended period of struggling with it was really eye-catching to me. And I think Svensson's grossly, I don't think grossly overpriced because it is a tough field, but is a big price and a huge opportunity.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think it's a no-brainer. And in some spots, I still ask the field or DraftKings ownership to make sure you prove it to me and really think like the profile and a lot with him. And in our betting streets, it's easy to get consumed by him being on the most tips chart for the week, but it doesn't mean it's a bad bet by any means, especially at these odds.
People get so caught in that. Like, the reason people are most tipped is because they make the most sense. It's not just people want a bandwagon. I mean, there's a little bit of that, of course there is, right? But we're all looking at the same data points. We're all looking at the same form. We're all looking at what makes sense. And someone at 250 to 1 who's just had back-to-back top 10s and plays in the course he's got 65 at makes a ton of sense. So I actually don't think he'll end up on the most tips chart. So it's probably one we don't need to worry about. But like, I do think it'd be popular for a reason. There's also just one player that I think is grossly overpriced in the US for this event.
At the top or out?
No, right down, and it's Oliver Lindell. Just 450 to 1 on DraftKings, which is just bizarre to me. If you look at Lindell's form, I mean, we know he has those winning issues, right? But he was 10th at Catalunya. He was runner-up at the KLM Open. He was 6th at the Italian Open and 13th last week in a good field in Germany. Hasn't played this golf course before. And I know we've kind of said, let's not focus too much on links golf because it isn't a real test. But remember, he played so well in the Open Championship last year, and he's played well in an Irish Open. I just thought, 7th for the Irish Open, 28th for the Open, where he, was actually better placed for a while, 7th for the Isco Championship. I think he's going to really like this test. And, I just thought 450 to 1 in the form that he's in was quite eye-catching.
I mean, the question that I would have, and this is where, again, like, it's so easy to get down a rabbit hole of searching for certain players is
distance. Yeah.
Right. Like, his off the tee game is putrid. It's not good. And maybe that's, a stretch, but doesn't gain distance is neutral accuracy. But again, if you think about Tom Kim and you go more that, or you even zoom out, like, the previous editions weren't as crazy as last year was.
Yes.
Like, there has been, it's not like Bob is a super bomber or anything, like other guys that have been up there. Like, I think there's other ways to get it done, which Lindell, absolutely. I looked at Bernd Wiesberger for a similar reason, right? A former winner here, in a super benign year, playing awesome. Again, more of the irons type of play like Lindell, but I'm definitely intrigued. It's a great comp with how well he played at the Open. And I mean, that's when we thought about him for the Open heading into there, it was like, man, could he find a putter at all? And if he could, he's going to change his entire game around. And honestly, since then, he's been awesome on the greens. Like, it's probably borderline like difficult to not get a win with how good he is with irons and his putter right now, but at his number, you're not asking for a win,
Mm-hmm. But then, like you said, the McIntyre year is a perfect reference, right? Lane Gask third, Aaron Wright fourth with Sung Jae Im. Even like a Noren's not big hitter. I know he can send it, but he's not. Best round of the day last year on Sunday, Justin Rose 7 under for the day. Stracker not the longest. So I just always think this is probably a more DFS thing of like, who do you think could just get hot and go and kind of because winning equity on Lindell's low at the best of times, right? He hasn't won, so it's tough to see him do it. But we do also just see these people just step up in a bigger event all of a sudden. So I wouldn't get too caught up in the top 3 last year, despite the fact it's obviously hugely beneficial to hit it far in any golf course.
Yeah, I'm gonna like lean on one guy deep who does fit that profile. I mean, I debated between 2. I looked at Freddie Scott quite a bit.
Yeah.
Last week he made the cut on the number with an eagle on the 36th hole. Played well over the weekend. Really good jump start on Saturday. And again, he won earlier this year at a bomber-heavy course, and just has been really good off the tee for as long as we really have been tracking, the DP World Tour. Yet he's still only 25 and, has a profile to build on. But when I kind of put it side by side with a golfer who has that same off the tee ability, who then has a 15th here, as well as I believe last year through 2 rounds also was like, he was at T12 maybe. I figured like you'd have this one on a platter for me going into Alejandro Del Rey here.
Yeah.
Like, again, of guys that can just go absolutely nuclear. He did it here. I think he shot a 62 in 24 in the second round. You know, stands out to me how well he had played. You know, we're dating ourselves with sometimes his history, but I believe it was LACC. He like showed out big time. I don't even think he made the cut, but enough that like I vividly remember him like taking it deep on Friday to maybe make the cut. But again, with Del Rey, I think we've seen some graduation in play. You know, picked up the win early last year at a bomber-heavy course. And then what has he done in 26? It's just the yo-yo style, right? He's got 4 top 20s, 2 of them being top 10s, 4 missed cuts, a lot of, you know, mediocre nothingness. But he can get really hot off the tee. He can putt well, and he clearly has an affinity of wanting to, you know, play here. Like, really likes it. So I think we can see Del Rey for another pop at massive odds. I think last I checked he was like 750 to 1. So, you know, if you get that out with a ladder to like a top 20 or a first round leader type of stuff, I like that for Del Rey.
Yeah, I mean, look, he is that player that I will never just get him right. I think he's the player that I would definitely target in the first round leader market. That's the sort of place I would like Del Rey. You know, you just mentioned there the 62. He's had really good scores there and then just had some really volatile rounds as well. But yeah, still 750 to 1 Sky on Andrew. I think when you look past the PGA guys and kits he's even on tour, you're getting a good number of basically.
And I believe, I mean, Del Rey was the one that 2 out of 3 weeks, in a stretch from the South African Open through the Turkish Airlines, he went 2 first-round leads and 1 second.
Yeah.
So he's a fast starter. So I really love that for a first-round leader bet, actually.
Yeah.
We'll see if there's any wind advantage, but maybe an early tee time or something, man, you just blitz it.
No, he just seems like a prime candidate, doesn't he? And also, I did like the Freddie shot call. Similar, you know, number, right? I think almost exactly the same price. Because that 16th place last week was kind of a nice bounce back for a bit of a poor run. It was 5 events in a row we missed the cut, but before that, 5th at China Open, was, you know, leader at the first round of the Indian Open, and, you know, got that win earlier in the season. So I think the odds are big. And you mentioned Bernd Wiesberger, and he's got a winner 4th and a 3rd in his kind of like last 7 or 8 starts. He seems like a back, and I get thinking it's going to be Carrera rather than Wiesberger, but maybe it's just Wiesberger, and we know what he's like. He could win this, like, he could truly win it. I don't think I'd be backing Wiesberger to beat the likes of Rory McIlroy in 2026, but, you know, it makes sense. He has won at the golf course. So.
The only other one before we go Isco, do you think Henny is live at all? Duplessis, going back to him.
I looked, and then I just thought, I don't know how you get over yesterday losing to Michael Hollick. Like, he was in control for a little bit. He wasn't making the putts on Saturday when I was watching. He was having a lot of good birdie looks. I just don't think he's been exposed to enough of this level of golf. I think he's another one that could shoot a really low round. But I just think the occasion will get to him.
Yeah, I had liked at the U.S. Open, he hit the ball like awesome.
Yeah.
Just putted like insanely bad.
Yeah.
To not even like, I don't even think he was close to making the cut while he was there. And he had done the similar thing at the KLM Open previously. So, and honestly, the only thing that if you looked at Hollick, and again, the state of DP World Tour is very interesting. But Hollick hit the ball awesome in Italy, but didn't even make the cut, Yeah. So it was like lead-in form approach while missing the cut type of situations. Like, do you really think it's that valuable to have 2 rounds of hitting the ball well? I don't know. Both of those two kind of had that similar-esque thing. So,
yeah, I think it's interesting, isn't it? I think, generally speaking, I don't really put too much of a factor into people hitting well during a miscut, because I just think, what about the other 2 rounds? Like, if they're not really in form, what would have happened? They would have averaged out. But as you said and rightly points out, this is different on the DPR tour. Like, am I going to go back? I don't know, Adam Svensson from last week because he hit his irons well at the John Deere Classic. Maybe not. I did already bet him in the first round leader for that week, so I've already been burnt. But like, probably not. Right? There's nothing to go, okay, well, Adam Svensson had a really good iron week. Let's just jump on him. I'm never going to have got to Michael Hollick, so it's probably the worst example. But I think there's more value in the DPR tour and looking at that closely. I do think you learn, like Jordan Cumberg and people like that. You only need to see very small green shoots, right? So, yeah, I do think it's worthwhile in DPR tour.
And I think the inverse is true of an event like this, where I don't care as much about the recent form of the DP World Tour. I care more about what the player is, who we've gotten to know, and the profile. I wrote up Scaper at the U.S. Open, who ended up missing the cut because, like, he's just that level of player. And, like, a lot of them are, like, Scaper's been locked up for the PGA Tour for 3 months, 4 months. Longer than that, actually. I think it was, like, in the swing season, right? Yeah. So, like, he's had no motivation all year to do anything. I don't want to say, like, an Aora guys are that comfy that they're not needing to play well, but this, the level of seriousness might not be there compared to the way they approach a week like this that can change their career with a really good one.
Yeah, I think a lot of them are just going, you know what, there's not much competition here. I probably only need one or two more really big weeks, and I'll get myself in the mix and I'll see what I do in the playoffs. Versus, if I win here, I get my card anyway.
Yeah.
I think it's a very valuable point. I think Aora's the type that would back himself to do that. Wildly, considering he struggles so much with staying in contention on the DPR Tour now. But yeah, I don't think any of these guys, I think they just look at like Raitan and Peng now and just go, I can do that.
Yeah, 100%. Any of the live guys, I thought Victor Perez, he's kind of doing that like live, I don't play good on, I show up in Europe and I play good type of situation, which I never know to trust or not, or if that's just you can get bit by doing that. But
I've actually just given up on it. I just think I think now more than ever I can't do it. I think before we were right to try and diagnose what form meant on live, and now it's the whole tour is in tatters, and they're probably all just thinking about they're going through the motions, right?
Yeah,
like they're just fulfilling contract obligations and. Because you've seen players that are just absolutely stink out the place and just can't qualify for the Open and stuff. So I would be cautionary. Or you just look at it the other way, just like, well, okay, he's playing on the DPR Tour, focus on the DPR Tour and forget live. It's probably different.
Yeah. That's kind of like, when you leave live and you're playing well elsewhere, like I don't think it's sustainable to keep doing that, but I don't know. Victor Perez was the only one, but we'll kind of see there. Okay, so let's put a bow on the Scottish here. Let's go into the Isco Championship a second. 1 second here. I'm going to pop to you. Do you mind opening up yours a second and going in? Yeah, if you want to kick off the Isco here a second.
Yep. So everyone's Isco, and we've got quite a weird field. Again, he talks about the Scottish Open being a weird field. We've got headlined by Koiven, the Zadenhout, Homer. Don't know, but Zadenhout lives with those two. You've got the last week's kind of hardest loser in Ben Coles, and then you've just kind of got this nearly run of DPR Tour players. Now we've seen in the past, Guy, haven't we, with the DPR Tour that you can get players come over here and succeed. We've seen, I think, McCoy in the past, Kinsey, and people like that kept playing so well. So I think there's a lot of reason to be bullish about the DPR Tour regulars this week because, aside from maybe Homer, who's, on a really good trajectory, I think the rest of the field's pretty beatable. We just saw what happened with Koiven. I know he's probably going to bounce back pretty quickly, but there's a lot of focus on him last week, and, he's going to be far shorter here, and he's got to live up to that expectation again.
Yeah, I mean, I was one of those guys that definitely backed Koiven, and I've been a sucker for that for the longest of time. So I wasn't going to let that opportunity, kind of slip, and thought there was some still real upside there. But it's hard. The hard part about this ISCO and these alternate events is, man, like I don't want to say we want it more than, I guess we just haven't seen historical results for our DP World Tour guys.
Yeah.
That, like, if this, I want to see, I would love this on like a Challenger or something, like, or even the swing season. You get some of these events on European grounds and see if the inverse happens, or do these people, because we've never gotten a spot like where this is in, the KLM Open happens to be the ISCO or the Barracuda of the week, where the fields are equal between the two strength wise,
Yeah.
So I would be curious on that. I don't know. It's got to be a lot to wrap up in Germany and then come on over to Kentucky or wherever we're landing now on the ISCO and show up and play well. It's a lot of moving pieces for these guys.
Yeah, but I think there's been enough encouragement from, you think about, Manuel Vera finishing third last year.
We should have got that Matty Schmid win a few years ago.
We should have got the Matty Schmid one. Obviously, there was a time where Kimsey lost to the British guy.
Who did he end up with? Because Harry Hall won it 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Who beat
Vincent
Kimsey?
Norman win it?
Oh, you're right. I think Norman did win it. Yeah.
So I think we've had the Norman win.
Where is Vincent Norman?
I know. Where in the world is Vincent Norman? I've forgotten about him altogether.
Oh man, I'd back him right now if he was in this
game. Yeah, exactly. That's the concerning thing. But look, there's some intriguing players like in this as well that I'm sure we'll go through. But yeah, look, it's not that kind of slam dunk where you're like, okay, well, what I don't think you get the hot enough hands from the DP World Tour going over, because there's enough spots in the Scottish Open. I think it's probably the difficulty as well.
Totally, yeah. Like you're definitely, I wouldn't say grasping at straws, but like then you don't have the profiles of like the long term. So like the three that like stood out to me from like maybe like four from like recent form. I guess the big two was Steinlecker has been very good. Steinlecker has been very good for basically a month, right? 7th, 3rd, 25th, 30th. He was Baroff's pick to be the best player from the graduating hotel planner tour, and kind of living up to that now. Still, 60th only in rankings. And then if we look at another graduate, Guillemanda guy, right? He's 4th, 25th his last two times out. Miscut 35th, miscut 3rd, another top 20 recent. So, those two seem a little bit more of quote unquote longer form of guys. I don't know. And Langas was showing some life as of I didn't have I need to back this guy immediately. Did you have any on your card already?
I didn't, but the one I'm really close to is Manuel Vera. I think Manuel Vera is playing well, right? Like he was 30th at the Tau, 7th at the Austrian Open. Pretty disappointing in Italy, but he had a second round 65, bounced back from a slow start. And then obviously 16th last week, he's inside the top 10 for the second and third round. And then, as I said earlier, he finished third at this golf course last year. So he was kind of note to me because he's playing better now than he was, or at least very similar form, to be quite honest with you, to last year. I think he missed the cut coming in last year. Obviously played well last week, and then there wasn't much difference. It was a couple of events. But otherwise, I think it is going to be, for the most part, kind of the PGA Tour players that have been solid enough in other events, right? That's the difficult part to it. But yeah, I think Manuel Elvira would be the main one for me. Joel Gerbach played here last year, was 18th at halfway, so maybe that tells you something about the level of field that we get here. He finished 23rd last week in Germany, he was 11th in Austria, so maybe Joel Gerbach can make a bit of a run here. But yeah, otherwise we're back to having a field where Daniel Iceman's playing. So yeah.
Yeah, I looked. Elvira stood out too. He was on the short list. Last year, it kind of fit an overall distance profile. It was the first year at the new course that they were playing at. But then Paul Peterson also finished second, to Mao, and a lot of run hot with the putter. I was kind of intrigued at how, difficult scores ended up winning. What Mao won at like 10 under, right?
Yeah.
After like a berserk Sunday. So I was intrigued. again, and we've seen this a lot on the DP World Tour. I don't remember who tweeted it. Maybe I think it was Golf Ramble who tweets some good stuff and tidbits. Who said if you basically just backed the best player on the DP World Tour from the week before in the next week, now this includes everyone. Like you would have got the Chicharo win, you would have got the Reed wins, you would have got the Scaper back to back, Jarvis. Like you would have had all of these. So like again, sucker for recent form and looking at things. Thomas Rosenmuller went top 20 on the Corn Ferry Tour, and then snuck into 6th last week. I don't know why. I kind of think he could play well in Kentucky. He went to college in Texas.
Well,
I think I bet him here last year.
He did play well last year. He finished 14th. He was second after the first 2 rounds, and he's just a ridiculous profile because he struggled on the Challenge Tour in 2021. Then goes over to Corn Ferry, starts making some inroads, wins on the Corn Ferry in 2024, beats Carl Phillips, who we know is now obviously a PGA Tour Championship at the Puerto Rico. He beat Nigel Peterson. He's also beaten Matt McCarthy on the Corn Ferry. So that win is kind of, increased for Rosenmuller, I would say, over the years. He only turned pro in 2019. He won 3 times on the Pro Golf Tour. As you say, Texas, went to North Texas. So, look, I thought he was a potentially bigger hitter than he is, right? He still gets out there. I thought he was like an absolute bomber from memory, but maybe he was, and the landscape's changed a little bit more since he came out. But yeah, I think for me, he is the standout. If we're sort of claiming him a little bit as a kind of Challenge Tour import, then I think I thought he was probably the standout prize.
Yeah, I think I'd be backing him and calling him ours for that. The other one, I probably bet him last year too in this event. I gotta think so. Knowing me, and knowing, did he play? Let's see. He would have played this event. Let me double check. I think he missed the cut, but yeah, I absolutely bet Davis Bryant last year at the Isco because he went 10th.
Yeah, we did.
4th, missed cut.
So we thought it was like the bet of the century because wasn't he like 100 to 1 or something?
Yeah, and like when you get these Americans back on home soil, it feels like, man, like that's ripe for it. Now you get Bryant with a better year, and like he was 5th after round 1 last week, and then I think round 3 he came back a little bit. And then, he was 20th 18th going to the final round before he kind of fell apart a little bit. But again, that American on the European Tour coming back style bet, I like. So I would say those are kind of my 1-2 of the long shots there. And also, while talking Americans on the European Tour, Brad Dahlke last week, dude, that was sick.
Yeah, that's cool.
That was really cool.
The only thing that's it was really cool, and this is just maybe I'm a bit of a pessimist, but they were sort of making it seem like he was just a YouTube golfer, like he was Grant type thing, right? And this is a guy that was very good in college, played Junior World Cup. He's played in 2 majors. It's not like me and you have learned how to play golf and got a lot of YouTube subscribers, and so. It's amazing. It's amazing that he played so well for so long, and it's a shame that actually he kind of struggled on that final day. But it was weird how they kind of sort of avoided the fact that he's actually been a good golfer in the past. I actually thought they did him a disservice, is kind of what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. And there was like people taking his comments out of context, I thought, saying like, I'm not chasing the professional game. However, I would accept sponsors exemptions. Like the thing about Dahlke that I like, and I'm not deep in the YouTube streets by much at all. I watched him on the Internet Invitational and he won that. But he just seems like a nice dude, and like I think he's leaving. Good. The part that he is because his wife has been going through health issues and like just like a good human being that like deserved the spotlight, and he's going to tee it up in Detroit in a couple weeks too. So I'm definitely intrigued, but like I was trying to see if I could find what the low American odds were for Dahlke last week. Like that would have been insane because I mean he cleared it. Was him and Brian were the only 2 to make the cut. So But okay, let me think. We talked
we're not doing
Diamante guys. Anybody?
We're not doing the Sean Crocker thing, are we?
So if we're talking Americans, I looked at him. I definitely did. New father.
Yeah.
So we have a nappy factor in, but is there anything to work off of?
Not really. 35th 2 weeks ago, where he was 18th going into the final round in Italy. I think that's we're clutching at straws. He didn't play here last year. Yeah, I think it's tough. It is a tough DP World Tour card here. I mean, Lane Gaskin's playing well.
Yes. And he would be somebody I would. He's just probably bummed he's not playing the Scottish Open. You know,
Yeah.
He's got to come all the way over here to play this. Like,
but he's
got to be frustrated because
he's reasonably priced. It's 100 to 1, right? And he's made 7 cuts in a row, and he's just gone 11th and 16th. The difficulty with him is it's, you know, like if we want bombers, he's back.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what's Steinlecker's updated price? Where does he stand?
Let's have a look.
150. I thought I saw somebody tip him earlier. Let me pull it up too. He should be. Everything's moving as I speak here. I think it's got to be triple digits.
He isn't on DraftKings.
Yeah. Everything's kind of moving as I'm trying to get it up and loaded. But I thought he at least was...
he's 100 to 1.
I mean, if you just... Okay. Yeah, because if you just simply looked at, like, you know, players that kind of fit the bill of just playing, like, even if you just adjust strokes gained against everybody, he's probably in the last couple of months a top 10 player in this field.
Yeah, 100%.
You know?
Yeah.
Where'd Steinlecker go to college? Let me double check college where he went. North Carolina State. Okay, because that was the thing on Schmid. Schmid went to Louisville, so it was perfect in Kentucky. There, but yeah, I would say, and the only other one we haven't talked about, I mean, like, it kind of fits the bill of like of Lane Gasquet, but you know, Jorge Campillo cannot be excited to come to the States to play this event. But then why are you doing it? I guess, but.
Well, didn't he famously turn down?
He almost won the Myrtle Beach Classic before.
Didn't he?
Yes. Yeah. So what's he doing?
I don't know. He's obviously just that pissed that he's not playing the Scottish, that he just is playing here. But yeah, I don't know. That is a weird one because he has no desire to play in it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he had the full season he played over here, and then just said he didn't enjoy it. So I don't know. But and then okay, if I had one more, if we're in the weeds, Stefano Mazzoli, I thought was playing a little bit better, and he kind of fit the bill that he might be like the best putter of the lot of guys that are playing well as of late.
My hand was just over Mazzoli just because of that kind of back-to-back top 25 finishes, 19th in Italy, 23rd last week in Germany, 13th going back to the Catalunya where he was the 36-hole leader. I think it's quite impressive to go and play well in your home countries in the Italian Open as well, so it's kind of stand out. Just, again, it's just another slightly shorter hitter that we can probably just, take a bunch of those and hope that one of them happens.
Yeah. I think I could go. I could see myself with a trio of Davis Bryant, of Mazzoli. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, Tom. Do you have anyone you're going to add here?
Not from a DP World Tour perspective. I was just looking at Sam Bairstow, but the forms.
I guess, yeah, we're not including. I think including Rosenmuller. Yeah, we'll land on him. Yeah.
Yeah, Rosenmuller's there. I do like Manuel Oliveira. No, I think it's slim pickings, Sky.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we've talked through both fields in pretty extent. So if you want to go review just in general what you'd want, either your full card or kind of what you're thinking from both events.
Yeah, so Scottish Open, I'm going to be backing Wyndham Clark, Tom Kim, Christopher Wrightan, and Jesper Svensson. They're all on the card. Oliver Lindell, I just think is a way bigger price than I expect him to be, kind of on DraftKings. I think he's a good DraftKings fantasy play as well, if that's kind of into your thing. Over at the Isco, I almost certainly will be backing Manuel Oliveira. He'll probably be my kind of main standout. From the DP World Tour, I do like Thomas Rosenmuller, but I don't think he's going to get missed, right? I think the odds are just going to come in and in on him. I guess like if I was looking for, another person from the DP World Tour, maybe I'd look at someone like a Hugo Cassard or someone that I think could just get hot. But yeah, no strong opinion yet on the DP World Tour.
Perfect. I'll be going at the Scottish. I talked a lot about Angel Aora, Daniel Hillier. I think I'm going to end up with Aora, at least of more interest for me. Let Hillier kind of show me something, and then maybe get him next week at the Open Champ. And then definitely with you, Jesper Svensson. And then I'm going to be on Alejandro Del Rey, a minimum first-round leader for the coming week. And then over at the Isco, we talked Thomas Rosenmuller. Definitely in on him. I like Davis Bryant too, getting him back on home soil. And then I do like the Elvira shout, and I'm going to look into Mazzoli a little bit there too to see if we can round out a total card. But Tom, it's good to be back in the saddle with you. I'm going to give a shout out to all of our audio listeners. You can find us on Daily Fantasy Sports Picks and Bets, The Mix. This will be up on Mayo Media Network. Super appreciative of the support. I was bummed always to answer the question, hey, when's your show coming back? And I had to tell them it's, still out for a month, still out for a few weeks. We should have at least a pretty consistent thing going forward. Again, you can find Tom on Twitter at TomJacobs93. You can find me at SkyHookDFS. We're going to do our best to keep up with the shows, especially as we get into some big ones kind of through the end of the summer and into the fall. So, Tom, thank you as always, and we'll be catching you next week, okay?
Thank you, Scott.